Next on Arizona 360, aiding asylum seekers and what that effort looks like in Mexico.
Our job is to welcome human beings in their dignity.
The next head of Arizona's public school system on some of the challenges she predicts.
It's going to take years to turn around some of these policies.
And what final election results say about the direction voters want to take.
Democrats across the board made some pretty big pickups.
Hello and welcome to Arizona 360. I'm Lorraine Rivera. Thank you for joining us. Migrants traveling in the much publicized caravan from Central America began arriving at the U.S. border this month, largely outside California. We'll hear more about the federal government's response from a reporter in Tijuana. But first, just across the Arizona border in Nogales, Sonora, charities that support immigrants and deportees are also helping more asylum seekers. We visited a shelter run by the Kino Border Initiative to find out more about the influx. So Joanna, Arizona Public Media has been here before. Thank you for having us back. One thing that's new this time around, though, are the families of small children we see.
Yeah, unfortunately, so there's always been people who are fleeing from Central America and southern Mexico have come to the border to seek asylum in the United States. But what's unique, unfortunately, this year is that ever since May, Customs and Border Protection, which is in charge of the ports of entry, who are supposed to be processing asylum seekers as they arrive, they've been telling people that they have to wait in Mexico for their turn to seek asylum in the United States. So this began in mid-May, extended over the course of the summer. Eventually they started to process people a little faster in July, but then once again we see long lines of people who have to wait in Mexico now for the opportunity to seek safety, and the wait can be 2 weeks. It was up to a month a couple of months ago, and so many of these families and young children are now in an unstable situation. They're staying in shelter on the other side of town and coming and eating here in the comedor.
The Kino Border Initiative is providing what sort of support to these families? Strictly meals a few times a day?
So the primary support that we're able to provide, we have a small shelter space, but it's really a lot of other NGOs who are providing other shelter spaces. We're providing meals both here as well as to the first people in line, so the people whose turn is next are staying at the port of entry. So we send food to the port of entry so that they can have a meal while they wait there. And then we're also collaborating with the Florence Immigrant and Refugee Rights Project to provide legal assistance. Because many of the families, all that they know is that they need to get out of the situation that they're in. They don't have a sense of what's the asylum process in the United States. So we try to do legal orientations while people are still in Mexico so they can understand their rights, they can understand the process and make an informed decision about whether that's a good choice for them.
What are these families telling you about what they're hearing when they go to request asylum and that time, that legal limbo that they're in while they wait?
So they get almost no information when they, either from when they leave Guatemala or when they arrive to the border. So they've heard in Guatemala that there might be some opportunity for them to stay in the United States. When they get to the border and say, I'm afraid or I'm seeking asylum, the Customs and Border Protection officer just says, well, wait in this line, and doesn't orient them at all to the process. So that's where I think we come in uniquely, to provide more of an overview of the process, what the requirements for asylum are, what does it look like to go to court. It's difficult when people are waiting in Mexico. They have a sense of urgency. They just need to get into a more safe and stable place. It's difficult for them to wrap their minds around how long and difficult the asylum process is in the United States and what it'll look like to be in courts. So we're trying a lot of different approaches to help better inform people on that front.
And you're seeing the whole gamut of population, moms, dads, kids, and men who have just been deported who are here seeking your services as well.
The fact that we have so many asylum seekers stranded here in Nogales doesn't preclude all of the other dimensions of our work, which the Kino Border Initiative historically has primarily served people who are deported. We're the main point of deportation in Arizona, and we're one of the primary ports throughout all of the United States. In fact, just a couple of weeks ago, we released a report that's called Communities in Crisis, about the devastating impacts of these detentions of people who are living in the United States. 78% of them have kids. They've lived an average of 20 years in the US. So for them, their arrival in Mexico is very different than somebody who's just crossed the border because they don't have a home necessarily to go back to.
Much of the attention that's been given to this caravan is mixed, that some of these people are here for legitimate purposes, others are not. How do you, as a Kino Border Initiative, go about balancing the humanitarian aid versus what's being played out in the press?
I don't know that our job is to balance. Our job is to welcome human beings in their dignity, see each mom and say that could be me, see a child and say that could have been me. So identify strongly with the people that we receive on a day-to-day basis and try to figure out how can we best respond to their needs as well as how can we encourage people in the United States to see people for their dignity and see them as brothers and sisters. We're a Catholic organization, and that's our understanding, as that we're receiving our brothers and sisters. So we say that lightly, but it's a radical statement. The United States has been involved in creating some of the challenges that have led to migration through our involvement, for example, in the Salvadoran Civil War. The past, it does matter. The fact that the United States is involved in Central America, the fact that the United States is the primary demand for the drugs that are being trafficked through Mexico, all of those factors matter because we've been involved in creating the problems.
We've heard crisis. At what point will you say, we've hit our point and we don't know if we can sustain this very much longer?
I think that's a difficult question for us to answer, and one that we're not necessarily concerned about, to be frank. What we're concerned about is what do we have the potential to do. And the same thing applies in our work in advocacy. We can't respond to every policy. We can't perfectly advocate, but we know what we're capable of, and we're willing to put in all of the time and resources that we can on that topic. So I don't think we'll ever reach a point where we can't do it anymore. It's just a matter of what areas are we able to focus on, and providing food, providing medical attention. Those are the bases that we'll continue to sustain.
And joining us now is Rafael Carranza from the Arizona Republic. He covers border and immigration issues, and he joins us today from Tijuana. Rafael, you've been there for a couple days now. How would you describe the climate?
I think the frustration is, it's growing day by day. I mean, the largest groups have been here now for close to 2 weeks now, and they've been in this shelter that has gotten more and more packed. There are additional caravans and additional migrants that are arriving basically daily, and they've basically run out of space for any additional people to come in. So conditions there, in addition to being crowded, they're just, they're very, very hard. They have very limited access to food, to showers. And I think that might be sort of, part of the contribution to what happened on Sunday when a group of them decided to rush the border. So there's definitely frustration growing, even with city government here as well. So the situation, they say, is not sustainable, but it's hard to say what the outcome is going to be.
I know you weren't there for what took place on Sunday, but you did witness law enforcement preparing to sort of up the ante when it comes to a response should the incidents of people rushing the border occur again. What can you tell us about that experience?
What we learned from Customs and Border Protection, the agency that secures the border, is that what happened on Sunday might not be an isolated incident. I mean, it was very significant because the San Isidro crossing here in San Diego is the world's busiest land border, and so it was shut down for several hours, causing massive disruption in the economy and by national traffic. And what CBP told us is that if something like that were to happen again, they won't hesitate to shut it down once again to keep the traveling public secure and to protect the borders. And what was really interesting too is that they mentioned that this wasn't just a possibility in San Diego anymore, but that they were taking precautions all along the California border and even in San Luis, Arizona, since it is on the way to Tijuana on the federal highway here on the Mexican side.
Any indication that some of this traffic could begin to migrate into Arizona, perhaps even Texas? And I also know the Mexican government is trying to help some of these individuals return home if they'd like to.
Well, that's certainly the desire from the state and local governments here in Baja California and Tijuana. They're asking the federal government to reroute these caravans if they continue making their way to the border and send them to other border communities because they say they're overwhelmed. I think we've seen some very small indications of the traffic moving to places like Arizona, and specifically in Nogales, where you had a very small group of LGBTQ migrants making their way there last week. And so I think as the desperation sets in here, or they analyze what their options are, some of them might consider moving to other parts of the border, and certainly Arizona could be one of the areas that could be, one of the primary targets. And I think that when I've spoken to some of the officials on the Mexican side, in, for example, Nogales, Sonora, that's one of the possibilities that they've been preparing for. They drafted this plan so that in case there is a large flow of migrants, they have the shelter space available, and they have a process to get them queued up in line and, settle in for a few days or weeks, since, they'll be waiting that much for to talk to an asylum officer.
Okay, Rafael Carranza reporting from Tijuana for the Arizona Republic. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you for having me.
Going back to Nogales, Sonora, how asylum seekers are processed looks different than it did earlier this year, when families and individuals would often wait for days outside the port of entry to make a formal request. Customs and Border Protection tells us it is working more closely with the Mexican government and non-government organizations in Mexico. CBP lets them know how many asylum seekers officers can process each day, and groups across the border coordinate the arrival of migrants at the port of entry, so people aren't left waiting outdoors like we saw before. CBP says most people are processed and out of its custody within 72 hours. It has about 1,000 additional officers stationed along the southwest border in response to the approaching caravans. For the first time in over 2 decades, Arizonans elected a Democrat to the role of Superintendent of Public Instruction. Kathy Hoffman won a tight race against Republican Frank Riggs. The former special education teacher joins us now from Phoenix. Kathy, thanks so much for your time. You have teaching experience quite a bit. You're not a politician, though you officially are now. How do you anticipate stepping into this new role?
Well, first, it's my privilege to be elected Arizona's next Superintendent of Public Instruction. I truly see this as a win for public education in Arizona. As a career educator, I am very much looking forward to being a very positive, pro-public education voice for all of our students and teachers. And I know that when we are doing what's best for our students and our teachers, that we are serving our families and our communities.
What is your strategy to affect change, given that we do have a Republican-led legislature? And I know you've said this shouldn't be about partisan politics.
That's correct. And in fact, I came right before this. I actually came from the governor's office. And so part of my strategy is to build relationships, build bridges, work. That will be a bipartisan effort. And I truly believe when it comes to the future of our kids that there's a lot that we agree on, and we need to identify those areas of common ground. But of course, I will also be fighting for what I believe in. And so, of course, funding will be an issue to make sure that all of our children have all the learning opportunities that they need to be successful. I know for our students to be successful, we need to attract new teachers to the profession. We need to make sure that our teachers have the supports so that they can be successful and that they want to continue to keep teaching. And that's why I'm looking at things like the paid maternity and paternity leave, is because that's one way that we could provide more support to our young teachers who are starting their families.
Arizona made headlines this year for the 20 by 2020 plan, though Arizona continues to lag when it comes to per pupil funding. So how will you go about being that pioneer for ensuring that teachers are getting paid? I know that's important to you because you said if we can't just focus on the students, we do have to be concerned with the teachers, the people in front of the classroom.
Absolutely. We must be concerned with being competitive in our region. We know when we're looking to our neighboring states, such as New Mexico, how can we make sure that our per pupil spending as well as our teacher pay is competitive with other states? When it comes to the 20 by 2020 plan, it is a great start. It's putting more money in the pockets of our teachers, which is great because they've already been spending out of their own pockets, as well as our families have been spending out of their pockets to fund our classrooms. And so it is a good start. But what I'm also looking at, more broadly speaking, is the 20 by 2020 plan only addressed our classroom teachers. It didn't provide any extra funding for our support staff, including our special ed teachers, music teachers, cafeteria workers, paraprofessionals, speech therapists, et cetera. And so that's one area that I think still has a lot of room for growth, because we know that our schools would not be successful without the support staff in our schools. And so that's one area that I'll be advocating for.
What do you think will be the biggest challenge as you move into this job?
I think the biggest challenge will be being patient, because I've seen firsthand what our schools need, what our students need to be successful, and it's going to take time. And I think that's going to be hard, knowing that there's such a need, and a desperate need in some cases, for more resources. We have schools that are on the brink of shutting down because of lack of funding, frankly. And so for me, it will be a challenge to be patient, to work through the process, work through the bureaucracy, and also take the time to make sure that our policies are going to be effective and helpful for all communities. And it's very important to make sure we have all the voices at the table to talk through these policies. But at the end of the day, I think it will be hard and at times frustrating to know that it's going to take years to turn around some of these policies and get back on the right track.
Okay, Kathy Hoffman joining us from Phoenix. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
In southern Arizona, Pima County Superintendent of Schools Dustin Williams is already looking ahead to the next legislative session. Among the issues he hopes lawmakers consider in the next budget, funding for special education. Students who have special additional needs, do we have the staff in place to support their needs in classrooms?
We have the staff in place, not enough, and the cost that it takes to deliver that support for that education and those students is an astronomical number, and we've got to start tackling this issue. We've got to start looking at it.
Can you give us any insight on the cost to educate a special needs child versus a typical child, I think?
Well, let me give you, you've got a classroom of 30, just general education classroom, and that's going to have a teacher in the front of the classroom maybe making $40,000 a year. I have a district school right now with about 20 special needs students in that classroom, and that classroom for that year is going to cost me about $500,000 a year. These students have profound issues that they need to be taken care of, and we want to deliver the best support, the best education, but it costs a lot of money. Students sometimes have to have their diapers changed and constant monitoring and several people per one student, and that's where that cost comes in that we don't have budgeted in the algorithm of school finance.
How do you make ends meet if the money's not quite there? Do you have to pull from other places?
That's exactly what you do. It's a shifting of funds, and so you're still getting the same amount of money, but you see these needs rising. And what the problem is especially in district schools, we're seeing the percentage of special needs students rising. So schools typically around 12% is the average. Now we're seeing it creep up into the 15, 17%. And we see this probably a trend in growing in that direction.
Is there anything that you currently attribute that to?
You know, that's a great question. One could be, which we all know is the opioid crisis, and we have, unfortunately, these babies that come into this world addicted to opioids, and the support and the needs that they have going further into their education is something. Other than that, just what's going on in our world. You know, you look at climate change, you look at all these different things, but we see the trend rising, and if the budgets don't change, it's going to be detrimental on a lot of schools.
That's one area of concern for you moving into this legislative session. Another, you said, is the minimum wage. It will increase yet again this new year. So
it will increase again this year, and by 2020 of January, everybody needs to be at $12 an hour. So we've gone from $8.05 to $12 an hour, and this is going to be putting a large burden, and has already started to, again, put burden on the budget of schools.
How do we go about paying for that? I know that in some early learning centers, the cost is increasing because it's that time of year, and we have to sustain the staff that we have.
So we need to be looking at the legislature and say, hey, we've got these increases coming. We've got more money infused into the school budgets, which is exciting. But what we really have to do is say, what are the schools going to do with two things? One, the minimum wage increase, and they have what are called classified staff. Those are your hourly staff. And this number is in, somewhere in the area of 400 to 1,000 classified staff personnel. Something has to be worked into this budget that's going to help offset this burden for these schools that have high classified numbers.
Here we are mid-academic year. How many teachers are we lacking from schools in Pima County?
Probably approximately vacancies or unclassified personnel, if you put that all together, somewhere in the area of about 2,200, 2,500 teachers.
Sounds like a lot.
It is a lot. It's a lot because we have a lot of kids that need special people in those rooms that's going to be consistent on a daily basis.
You are saying a lot of the same things that Superintendent of Public Instruction-elect Kathy Hoffman is saying. You're both elected into these positions. There's really only so much you can do when you have to work within the confines of a legislature and a budget that's been approved. How confident are you going into this next session that you'll have the support you need?
I've been in preliminary talks with Superintendent Hoffman-elect, and it's been promising. She's really excited about partnering and really looking at the local level issues of what she can do, and that's going to be the biggest task for her, is watching her leadership grow and then looking at the scope of exactly what the Arizona Department of Education does and what they can do, especially as an elected official.
Okay, Superintendent Williams, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Members in favor of the motion.
And now that the election results are final, so begin the analysis surrounding how Arizonans voted this midterm. For more, I'm joined by Dylan Smith, editor and publisher of the Tucson Sentinel, and Dan Shear, editor of the Green Valley News and Sahuarita Sun. My thanks to both of you for being here. Dan, I want to start with you. Last time you were on the program, you hesitated to say whether or not the midterm was the beginning of a blue wave.
Yeah, I think actually I said it wasn't a blue wave, and I don't think it is, even though there were certainly gains in Arizona. I don't think that we're going to know, maybe even after the 2020 election, whether there's a true blue wave in Arizona. The Democrats did very well this time. I wonder if it is a reaction to President Trump. I wonder if the same people who voted for him but wouldn't tell us in 2016 this time around did not vote for Republicans because of him and also won't tell us.
Dylan, we have a much more diverse executive office than we ever have before. Does that indicate what Dan is saying, that perhaps it's coming but later?
Well, I don't know that it matters so much whether you call it a blue wave or not call it a blue wave. It's a simple matter of fact that Democrats across the board made some pretty big pickups nationally, taking the House of Representatives 40 seats, I believe it is now, with I think maybe one more race that's still undecided. Picking up seats in the Arizona House where they're just 1 seat shy. So they picked up a few there, and taking statewide offices for the first time in quite a while. The U.S. Senate seat most prominently, but the Secretary of State office, which is essentially the second in command in the state, and the Superintendent of Public Instruction, a seat on the Corporation Commission, which is among the most powerful offices in the state, and pretty much, as we always harp on every election, people don't pay enough attention to that really fourth branch of government in Arizona.
Absolutely. And all this, of course, is not unusual for a midterm. The person who's in the White House usually loses. The fact is that the Republicans still are in control in Arizona. And so we have to remember that.
How significant is it that we finally have more diversity at the state level, though?
If they would listen to each other, that would mean a lot more. I hope that actually happens because both sides have some great ideas and they need to get together and collaborate a lot more than they have in the past. And I know that our legislative leaders hope that happens. We have 3 Democrats and they've largely been kept silent for years. And so they've got good ideas. They deserve to be heard because when you hear them, you hear Southern Arizona. So I hope it happens. We'll see.
I think it was just a decade ago that maybe even a majority, but a significant number of Arizona statewide offices were held by women, and now that's the case again. I don't think that's anything new for the voters of this state to turn to women for executive leadership.
Right, women held all 5 top offices in Arizona, and people said, okay, that's great, now let's go get something done. And that's really what it all comes down to is regardless of who's there, the diversity, the R or the D, can we get something done because we have a lot of big issues in this state.
We have Kathy Hoffman, Superintendent of Public Instruction-elect, on the program this week, and she's hopeful despite a Republican-led legislature. With an issue like education, will she experience some challenges moving along?
It depends on what she is going to put as her priorities. She made some really good arguments during the race and was very well spoken, obviously experienced, knows what she's talking about if she can get people to listen to her. But what she's going to be trying to do is to restore over $800 million in cuts. That is not going to be done in one legislative term. She can kind of get the ball rolling in the right direction. I hope that that happens, but I also hope that she stays focused and she doesn't go down these trails that are just going to allow people to marginalize her or perhaps even alienate herself from them. So she needs to stick to the fact that the schools need the funding right now. Let's focus on that.
Given that she is not a politician, will she face some challenges from a longtime Republicans, Democrats who've been in office for a long time who will say, you need to pay some dues before we listen to you?
That's always the case, but once the voters have spoken and you're in that kind of office, that's not just a state legislator where you can be expected to have to serve in a committee that maybe you don't like and that kind of thing. That is an executive office, the top schools person in Arizona.
Education was the headline at the end of the last session. What will it be moving into this one?
I think it's going to be, without a doubt, water. We have a drought contingency plan that needs to be addressed. This is a collaboration among several states and Mexico to head off shortages, not necessarily head them off so much as make them not so hurt us so much. Shortages are coming, probably in 2020, definitely after that, because we haven't had good snowfall. We haven't had, Lake Mead is down low to very dangerous levels, and we need to approve this drought contingency plan or California is going to move forward without us, and we don't want that to happen. So it has to be this collaborative effort, and that is at the forefront of the legislators from my area. I've talked to them about that.
So Governor Ducey easily sails into his second term. The first few years, it was border security, it was the economy, then it was education. You both agree water is the next thing on his list.
Water and certainly the state budget just, is never going to go away, and it's been the pattern for years now that those priorities come out of the governor's office.
But also we need to look at rural infrastructure. We have a few extra dollars from this last session, and how is that going to be spent? President Trump earlier this year announced $1 trillion effort to go after infrastructure, to improve infrastructure nationally. That thing fell apart within just a couple of weeks, but we cannot let that slip away on the state level. And so hopefully they'll take some of that money and fix some of the roads and bridges out there that need to be done. These are the things that people largely don't see and don't think about. Very, very important. The other issue is going to be restoring money to community colleges and some work programs, work training. So we need to do that also, because we're seeing that we're being harmed by those programs not being in place.
And that's all for now. Thanks for joining us. To get a look at next week's program, visit us on social media and let us know what you think. We'll see you next week.